Oh, good morning. Am I audible? So let's continue. Yesterday we discussed about the three of our revenue systems which were introduced by the Britishers to increase their margin of our profits. That money which they earned through the revenue systems, the basic purpose behind the introduction of such revenue systems to earn profits and facilitate in India and facilitate their trade, which earlier as possible from the England. They brought the money from England to complete their trade necessities. For example, for purchasing of raw materials, export of materials from India towards England, and import of manufactured goods towards India. For this, they require money. That money accomplished with the help of the new revenue systems. So different areas, different revenue systems initiated by the Britishers, by the English East India Company. Clear? Afterwards, the introduction of these revenue systems, now Britishers, they emphasize over the commercialization of agriculture. Commercialization of agriculture, because some of the categories of the crops which were high demanded in European countries. So because of their demand in European countries, they started to produce such crops with the help of the landlords in India, for which they introduced a commercialization, the concept of commercialization. Commercialization of agriculture means when we produce crops for selling purposes, not for the subsistence. But when we are talking about the existing condition of the farmers, at that time the farmers, they produce crops for the subsistence. Subsistence means for their survival. Basically, they owned the smaller agricultural fields. These smaller agricultural fields, they use for the production of the food crops, neither as a commercial crops. They were not preferred to produce the commercial crops because they were poorer. Farmers were the poorer. They can't afford the modern inputs of farming. Means they can't afford the fertilizers, seeds, or other agricultural inputs which required in abundance for a production of a commercialized crops. So important commercial crops introduced by the Britishers in Indian subcontinent. These were tea, T-E-A-T, coffee, tea. It was as a use for the exchange of the materials, exchange of a silk with the China. Tea and opium produced in India to exchange goods with the silk. These opium and the tea used by the Britishers to exchange with the silk which produced in parts of China. So tea, coffee, opium, tea, coffee, opium, indigo, I-N-D-I-G-O, indigo, tea, coffee, and opium. These goods were the high demanded in European countries. In European parts, the other European countries required these goods in a larger quantities. They were ready to pay for such goods which can be as possible to produce in tropical conditions of India. India has experienced the tropical as well as the subtropical conditions. Tropical as well as subtropical conditions. Raghav, am I correct? Raghav, raise your hand. Raghav Soni. Raise your hand. Yes, Janvi, Raghav Soni, raise your hand, both of you. Janvi and Raghav Soni. Jayant Khajuria.
Yes, sir.
Yes. India lies in a tropical as well as subtropical regions. My statement is correct?
Yes, sir.
How? Can you give me the names of states which are lies in a tropical and a subtropical regions?
Sir, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala.
Andhra Pradesh in tropical means these areas are south of the Tropic of Cancer. The states which are lies in the north of a Tropic of Cancer are the subtropical regions. So as per the existing tropical and subtropical conditions of India, favorable for a production of tea, coffee, preferably produced in both the climatic conditions, tropical as well as subtropical, whereas indigo and opium require the tropical. Indigo and opium, it can possible to produce in a tropical conditions. Clear? Very good. Japji given the answer. Tropical as a West Bengal, subtropical Punjab, Haryana. Very good. So let's continue. So these conditions, the climatic conditions of India, varied form of a soils available in India, varied forms of soils available in India, favorable for a production of a such commercialized crops, commercial crops along the slopes of a northeastern states of India, the slopes of the Himalayan region. These are capable for a production of a tea. Same as in a southern India. In southern India, the eastern and western Ghats favorable for a production of a coffee. Production of coffee. The interiors of Peninsular Plateau favorable for a production of a indigo, because indigo has required a hot and humid weather conditions. Hot and humid weather conditions. Clear? Same has required for the opium also. Required for the opium. So as per the existing conditions, the natural conditions, climatic conditions, types of soils available in India, favorable for a production of a cash crops, commercial crops, tea, coffee, indigo, and opium, which were high demanded in European countries. With export of these goods, Britishers, they can earn as a good profit. They can earn the good margin of the profits by export of such materials, such number of crops towards the European countries. Still there any doubts? Still there any questions? Yes. If anybody having any questions regarding it, they can ask. Nobody? So let's continue. So afterwards, now the Britishers, they basically has emphasized over the indigo, because the type of the dye which can possible to produce in England and the temperate areas, it was named as a woad, WOAD, woad. It was as the dye. It was also as a natural dye because of its light texture. It was not demanded for the dull texture. Very good, Khyati. Dull or a light texture, it was not demanded by the Europeans for the cotton textiles. They require as a darker complexion, and which can only solve with the help of a indigo. Indigo can satisfy their needs. But with the production of a indigo, Khyati, yes, Indian indigo having as a darker texture. So production of a indigo, it decreases the fertility of a soils. So that's why most number of the farmers refuse to produce the indigo. Refuse to produce the indigo. To ensure the production of the indigo and earn the good margin of a profit. For this, the Britishers, they introduced the two systems of the cultivation of indigo. These were the Nij and Ryoti. N-I-J, Nij, and Ryoti, R-Y-O-T-I. R-Y-O-T-I. Ryoti, clear? Ryoti earlier we used as a word. Ryots were the farmers. So let's start from the first system of a cultivation of indigo as a Nij system. Nij system. In this system, the planters produce the indigo at their own fields. They produce the indigo at their own agricultural fields. So their agriculture fields, they transform into as the production sites of indigo, through which they can earn as a more profits. So most number of the planters, they hired slaves, and such slaves were used for the production of indigo at their fields. Indigo at their fields. This system, it is known as the Nij system. Nij system. At that time, at the time of a colonial period, the standardized unit of a land measuring, it was as a bigha, B-I-G-H-A. Bigha was the standardized unit of measuring the land. Measuring a land. So Bigha was a land which was mostly has a use for flowing purposes of indigo. The second system was a Reuti system, in which the planters they take as a land on rent. On the basis of the land, they take as a land, and that land they use for a production of indigo. Means they procure their land, they procure the fertility of a land of their own areas, but borrowed or taking as a land on rent basis from the other farmers and use for a production of indigo. That system was named as a Reuti system, RYOTI, in which the planters forced the farmers to sign the contract, on such behalf of the contract, farmers were bound to produce the indigo, and after the production they will sell the indigo product directly to the planters. They can't sell it to any of the other company. So those farmers which signed as a contract the agreement with the planters, they bound to produce the indigo, and after the production of indigo, they were bound to sold the material, sell the indigo directly to the planters. They can't go towards the anywhere. So most number of the planters, they purchased such indigo, such raw material, indigo at a low cost. Planters, they purchase indigo at a low cost and sold the cotton clothes at high rates in market. It was as an adversely impact on a production of a cotton textiles and cotton industries, the small scale industries located by the domestic producers, the Indian producers. Those weavers which earlier has produced the clothes, they adversely impact due to this, because due to the deficiency of a raw cotton, and indigo not makes possibilities for a production for a weavers. If the weavers not having as a raw material, how can they can produce as a goods? If the raw cotton is not there, how can the weavers, they will manufacture the clothes? So most number of Indian industries, the domestic industries, they ruined. They stopped their production because of a deficiency of raw materials. But due to the exploitative policies of the planters, it disturbed the relationships between the farmers and the planters. Most number of the farmers, they started to refuse to produce the indigo at their agriculture fields, and those which produced, they were not agreed to sold their indigo directly to the planters. They were sell it to some other sources through which they can earn as a good margin of profit. Means other company. Till that time, here we are talking about a time about the beginning of the 18th century, end of 18th century. Afterwards, 1780s, 1790s, and 1800. Till that time, the most number of the farmers, they sold their materials to the Portuguese or the French. Because the Dutch, they left the country. Dutch people, the people belong from the Denmark, they left the country, only as a British, French, and Portuguese remaining over us Indian subcontinent. For the collection of indigo directly from the farmers, planters, they appointed as a gomastas. The gomastas, these were as the individuals, those latias, or a people which were used as the wooden stick to beat the farmers and capture their indigo produce after the harvesting, for which as a gomastas were appointed by the planters. Clear? Gomastas appointed by the planters to recover the number of indigo produced by the farmers. Till there, any questions? Yes? Any queries? Any questions? Next is after this production of a nij and a roti, the systems used for the production of a indigo. Afterwards, the relationships between the planters, farmers, riots and the planters, these were disturbed. These were disturbed due to as a adverse impacts of a production of indigo. Most number of the farmers, they refuse the production of a indigo. Production of indigo at their agricultural fields. At their agricultural fields. So the reasons responsible for the refusal given by the farmers against of the indigo production. Why? Because land loses their fertility due to the production of indigo. Once the production of indigo in agriculture fields, the land becomes barren. First is the land becomes barren. Second, most number of the farmers, yes, Manmeet, Akshat, Prabjot, Navkaran, and Avdhi. Your mics are still not connected. I'm repeating again, Avdhi, Navkaran, Prabjot Kaur, Akshat, and Manmeet Singh. Your mics are not connected to the system. Make it possible as far as possible. Clear? Again, Manmeet, Akshat, Jaryal, Prabjot Kaur, Navkaran Singh, and Avdhi Jain. Your mics are not connected to the system. So, second, the first has with the production of indigo, land loses its fertility. Land loses its fertility. Second, most number of the farmers, they own the smaller agricultural fields. They own the smaller agricultural fields. That's why they were not preferred to produce the indigo. Third, farmers were preferred. Farmers were the poorer. They preferred for the subsistence agriculture as compared to the commercial agriculture. As compared to commercial agriculture. Fourth one, commercial crops required the more capital investment. Means for the production of a commercial crops, farmers, they have to arrange, they have to organize the fertilizers, manures, good variety of the seeds, better quality of the seeds, to which they can ensure as a more production. But most number of the farmers, these were the poorer, they can't afford such kind of expensive agricultural inputs. Expensive agricultural inputs, these were not possible for them to arrange because of the farmers were the poorer. Farmers were poorer. Clear? Till there, any questions? Clear? So it disturbs as the relationships between the farmers and the planters. When the Gandhiji returned back to India in the year 2000, in the year of 1915, 1915, in 1915, Gandhiji returned back to India from South Africa. From South Africa. In South Africa, he worked in favor of those African and Asians which were discriminated on the basis of a skin color, for which he supported as the apartheid movement against of the racial discrimination. Racial discrimination. Later in stage, as a Nelson Mandela joined that movement. Nelson Mandela, he joined that movement. Clear? So when Gandhiji returned back to India in 1915, he took as a round of a complete of India and assumed that the reason behind the reason or the status of a people which is as a most deprived in society as the farmers, which exploited by the Britishers through their policies, through their revenue and economic policies, they exploited the farmers. So to protect the farmers from the wrong policies of the Britishers, Mahatma Gandhi started as the Champaran movement. Champaran, a place in Bihar where the Gandhiji started as the movement in favor of the cultivators, in favor of the cultivators, the indigo cultivators, and against of the planters. Against of planters, the movement was begun by the Mahatma Gandhi in 1915 at a place of Champaran. Clear? This was our chapter, ruling countryside. Any questions? Any questions? Yes, any questions? Against of planters. Yes, Khyati. Any questions, bache, related with this chapter, ruling countryside? Tomorrow is your test of a civics and two of the chapters, second and a third chapter of a geography. So let's start from the first chapter of civics. Constitution, Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution. So some of the facts related with the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution. Constitution of India framed by the drafting committee. Constitution of India framed by the drafting committee, or it's another name as a Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly. The Constitution of India drafted by the drafting committee or Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly, CONSTITUENT, Constituent Assembly, ASSEMBLY, Constituent Assembly. That assembly was formed in 1946. 1946, Constituent Assembly formed in 1946 during a time of a British age. British age. It was presided by the first president of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president of drafting committee or a Constituent Assembly. It was headed by the chairmanship of a drafting committee handled by, it was as handled by Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, it handled Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar handled it managed the drafting committee. Because of their endless efforts for a making of an Indian Constitution, we call B.R. Ambedkar as a father of Indian Constitution. Father of Indian Constitution. Clear? Next, third, Indian Constitution framed by the drafting committee and passed by the Parliament of India on 26th of November 1949. 26 November 1949, draft of Constitution passed by the Parliament of India. Passed by Parliament of India. So finally, India, it became as a republic. India declared as a republic on 26 January 1950. 26 January 1950, India became as the republic. Means the first Republic Day celebrated on 26th of November 1950. Sorry, 26th of January. Sorry, 26th of January 1950, India declared as a republic. The Constitution of India, it came into existence. Constitution of India enforced on 26th of January 1950. Clear? 1950. The important leaders of a drafting committee were Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, existing the Prime Minister, first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Nehru, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Mahatma Gandhi was not a part of a drafting committee. Mahatma Gandhi, it was not the part of the Constituent Assembly or a drafting committee. Keep this thing in your mind. Clear? Mahatma Gandhi, it was as a died on 30th of January 1948. 1948. Clear? So Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Pandit Nehru, Sarojini Naidu, Sarojini Naidu, etc. These were as the members, important members of a Constituent Assembly, which framed the Constitution of India and passed the Parliament of India on 26 November 1949 and enforced on 26 January 1950. Our constitution at the time of the framing, at the time of the enforcement, total number of 395 articles were there. At the time of the enforcement of Indian Constitution, 395 articles were there, but now presently there are 448 articles. Presently 448 articles are there. 448 articles are there. Clear? Next, there are the 22 schedules in a constitution. 12 chapters and 22 schedules are present. These 22 schedules are the all 448 articles. Different number of 448 articles. Fundamental rights are explained in a Constitution of India from article number 21 to 37. Article 21 to 37, all the fundamental rights are explained. Fundamental rights are those necessary conditions which are required for a social well-being of an individual. Social well-being of an individual. At the time of the enforcement of Indian Constitution, there were total number of 7 rights were there. 7 fundamental rights were there. Right to expression, right to equality, right against exploitation, right to the cultural and religious freedoms, right to the constitutional remedies, then the right to educational and the cultural freedoms, cultural liberties. So these were the 6 which now presently as present, but except them the one more right was there, which was as a right to property. Right to property. At the time of the enforcement of the Indian Constitution, right to property included under the fundamental rights, but in 1960s it excluded from the list of the fundamental rights. It has now marked under the directive policies, the principles of directive principles of a state policy. Right to property is now marked under the directive principles of state policy, means each and every state has responsible to give as a right to property to their citizens or not. Means if you are moving towards a Himachal Pradesh, you can't purchase as a land. Either you are living in a Himachal Pradesh on a rent basis since last 50 years, but you can't purchase a land because you belong from the Punjab. Only as a person which has belonged from the Himachal Pradesh, they can buy as a land. Property will transferable to that particular individual only. Clear? But in Punjab, our state policy, state directive policy states that any of a person belong from any of a state of India, they can buy a land in our state. So right to property, it will be as a concern about the different states. The reason behind it was that the most number of the states, they are not access towards the resources. Resources are not equally distributed over all the states. Because of this, some of the states are the prosperous and some are the lagging behind. Some are the poorer. Some are the poorer. So such poorer states, they can't avail the extra burden of poorers. That's why they restricted the entry of migrants. They restricted the entry of the migrants by the directive principles of a state policy in relation to the property. That's why property excluded from the list of the fundamental rights. Till there any questions? Yes. Till there any questions? Till there any questions? The preamble, which summarizes the Constitution of India, has included under the Constitution. Preamble, a document which explains or which summarizes the Constitution of India. It included under the Constitution of India in 1976. 1976. Because before of the framing of the Indian Constitution by the drafting committee, they set some of the criteria. Such criteria were used for such country, that kind of a country, which having as a large number of diversities. India is a land of the diversities. Here are the linguistic diversities are there. land diversities are there, mountains, plains, plateaus, island, coastal, deserts areas are there. There are the religious diversities are there, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christianity, and Jainis, Buddhists are there. So due to as a such kind of the diversities, cultural diversities are there, languages spoken by the people, linguistic diversities are there. Because of the such differences, the framers of a Constitution of India try to make as a that kind of a constitution which do not make as a discrimination with the any of a community, which do not make discrimination with any of a community. So for which as they make as a ideal constitution which favorable for a different sections of society. All these ideals on such behalf, the Constitution of India, it was framed. These ideals marked in a one document named as a preamble, Preamble. Preamble is the document which has summarizes the ideology of Constitution. On such behalf, the Constitution of India, it has written. Constitution of India, it has written on such behalves. Clear? It has written on such behalves. The preamble of India has summarizes the Constitution of India on such ideas or the behalves which are used for a framing of an Indian Constitution. Framing of Indian Constitution. These ideas are used under the preamble of Indian Constitution. Preamble of Indian Constitution. Clear? Preamble of Indian Constitution. Wait a minute. So this is as the document of a preamble which states that the people of India having the solemnly resolved to constitute the India into a sovereign means supreme socialist, it has followed as the social ideas. Secular, our constitution has followed the idea of a universal access towards the religions. All religions are equivalent in our country. There is not any of a state religion. State means our country is not having the one single religion. Those countries which are possessing the one religion, they are known as a theocratics. Theocratic, theocratic countries. But our country as a secular, Vatican City is a theocratic country because it has follows the ideals of a Christianity. But our country has given the equal preferences to the different religions. That's why the secular, our country is a democratic, which gives the opportunities to their citizens to elect their representatives. And republic, our country has governed by the representatives. Those representatives which are elected by the citizens of a country through elections. Clear? So there are certain ideals like as a justice, liberty, and equality. These three ideas of a preamble of Constitution, these were brought from the French Revolution. These ideals brought from the French Revolution. These ideals brought from the French Constitution. Clear? Liberty, justice, and equality. Yes. Maps, it can be as a ask in exam. Maps can be asked in an exam. Both of the maps which are given to you, those which we discussed. Clear, Japji? So let's continue. So justice, equality, and liberty, these brought under the Indian Constitution from French Revolution, which was occurred on Amarjot Singh. French Revolution happened in which year? French Revolution. Amarjot Singh. It was occurred on a 1789. French Revolution, it was happened on a 1789. Clear? Liberty, equality, and justice. These ideas brought from the French Revolution. Fraternity, that idea brought from the Russian Revolution of 1917. Russian Revolution of 1917. That's where we'll continue on tomorrow. The features of Indian Constitution. Clear?